Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hello, you nerds. Or in this case, all you younglings out there. I never really put much thought into my education, and while I'm totally fine with where I ended up, sometimes I wish I could have skipped doing an economics degree and did something perhaps a little nerdier. Or even useful. That's why you should check out the On Course podcast, where hosts Akhil and Alicia help you prepare for an education abroad that you can be proud of. I'm not saying economics isn't useful, but hey, if that's your thing, they're going to tell you about how to apply and even get financing. Check out the On Course podcast every Monday and thank me later, you nerds. But seriously, economics?
You're listening to the Geek Fruit Podcast.
Hey, you nerds, welcome to the Geek Fruit Podcast. As you probably know, Star Wars is all up in its business right now, with Celebration just wrapping up and Season 3 of Rebels just wrapping up.
Yeah,
so there's
true.
plenty to talk about. We don't know what happened because we're in the past.
Yeah, this
we
is
don't know
true.
what happened at Celebration. But
Yeah. We'll never know. Think about it that way.
but Rebels was so damn good.
Yeah.
We did an episode on it like a while ago. A year ago almost.
A year ago. Like when the previous season
one.
got over, yeah.
So it's about time we did another one.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
We're talking about we're going to be talking about Rebels on Disney XD, and we don't actually do this very often. We don't actually really talk about cartoons as often as I think we should. A lot of people don't take them very seriously, but it's a very serious show. It's a very serious show for any Star Wars fan, and I think it does the best kind of fan service without it being fan service. Like they really know how to please people who are heavily invested in the Star Wars universe by giving them like this extra content which they didn't even know they needed. I mean, everybody wanted something in between 3 and 4, but I think this is the best. Like Rogue One is a singular movie, but I think Rebels really takes the time to kind of flesh out an entire era of time before the episode A New Hope. So I'm just glad it exists, and I'm glad we get to dissect it. So that's what we're going to be doing. Talking about that, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, Kanan,
All the spoilers.
Ezra.
Ye be warned.
All spoilers. Just after this break.
Did you know India's most popular music festival was in a way conceived in Estonia? We speak to someone who knows a thing or two about making the NH7 Weekender happen.
Did you know that some termites in Africa have a pleasant minty flavor? And just as well, because we might all be eating them in a few years anyway.
Did you know that the world's greatest collection of human knowledge got its initial funding from a porn site? That's how Wikipedia started, and we tell you how it works.
Hey, I'm Chuck.
I'm Naren.
And I'm Sriket.
And together we're
Simplified!
Your fortnightly look at burning issues that you should know about.
Told to you in a way you'll understand, with humor, bad jokes, and PG Wodehouse references.
So that you can look smarter with minimal effort.
We're smart, funny.
Erudite and wise.
And ultra crepidarian.
Wait, what's that?
To find out, tune into our show. Episodes out every fortnight on all podcast apps near you. And on the IVM podcast app as well.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. I'm Tejas, and with me I have Jishnu. Hi, Jishnu.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Rebels Season 3. And before we go into it, I want to point out that at the time of this recording, we're literally 2 days away or a day away from Star Wars Celebration, which is happening in Orlando. Mm-hmm. So probably by the time you hear this episode, there could have been a new trailer out for The Last Jedi or even for Season 4 of Rebels. Yeah.
They've already... There's been a lot of leaks I've seen of...
some concept art
and things like that.
And I think Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was there briefly in Season 2. I mean, she was there pretty much in entire Season 2. And Sam Witwer, who plays Darth Maul and the Emperor. He's also going to be there at Celebration. So there's probably a new trailer out. Mm-hmm. And we're still talking about Season 3, but we're going to discuss Season 3 properly today. And... and that's it. And we'll talk a little bit about what Season 4 could potentially hold. So, it's been a year since we were doing the podcast. We actually have an episode previously for Season 2 also, which is, I think, one of the earlier episodes which we've done, in general.
I would guess it's in the 20s.
It's in the 20s, yeah. I want to say
I want to say 20s.
Yeah, because if you just minus 50.
That was a great episode because it was a great season.
It was an
It was
excellent
one of the
season.
most brilliant season finales I've seen on any TV show in my whole life.
Completely agree.
I'm counting animation, live action.
Everything.
I have everything
Netflix.
in between.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just beautiful.
Yeah, I think what they did with this show is they kind of, I mean, this is something we spoke about earlier, even for the last season, is that something which is very, much a paradigm of Star Wars is that, they kind of are constantly in the battle between good and evil. And we only very rarely see the middle grounds of that. And that never occurs in the films. We get to see it a lot more in the show. And in this show particularly, and that's a thing that they kind of branch off into in this season as well, which is the middle ground between the dark side and the light side. And I think that's what makes this show really, really special. And apart from the entire Jedi aspect of viewing things, the show is ultimately called Rebels, and it is about a small unit of a much larger rebel, what is going to be a rebel alliance. By the end of the season, we see them kind of move base to Yavin finally, so they can get into continuity with Rogue One.
Can we give them the spoiler warning?
Yes, so there's going to be lots of spoilers in this because there are some deaths in this show, and we're gonna be spoiling a lot of it. But you know what? It's a really great show, and it must be watched. So if you want, just go stop this episode, watch it, and then come back, and then you can hear us discuss it. So, Jishnu, what did you think overall? First thoughts on season 3. It's a long one. It's a 22 episode show and 22 minutes each. So, yeah, what did you think?
It's the same thing we've always talked about with 22 episodes shows. It's definitely a labored format, and it's kind of flawed because you can't not have filler episodes.
Yeah.
And we were just saying that there are so many filler episodes, especially in the season, but the show still is amazing because the ones that aren't fillers really frigging aren't fillers because they're so packed full of I don't know closure. This show gives you more
catharsis.
It gives you so much closure in every season, especially season 2, and then the very tail end of this season as well. It gives you closure to things that you didn't know you needed closure for because the odd thing about this, and the only comparison to what Star Wars has with Rebels is that the MCU has a bunch of TV shows that it offshoots with, and DC doesn't. While it's not an extended universe, it has your Gothams and your Flashes and Arrows and whatnot, which gives you more time to spend with other characters. Yeah. And this show does it better than any other show in terms of just that I now feel more complete.
Yeah, as a Star Wars nerd, yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
So I'll cut to the chase. So, like we said, spoilers, right? Season 2, we see the return of Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And
I mean, so it just happens in the end of season 2, right? We see he comes back in the final episode.
We see he comes back, and he is compelling as anybody could ever be.
Yeah.
We see Vader versus Ahsoka, which again you never thought would happen again, or never thought would be on the table. Yeah. But there you go. And I really liked that they were brave enough not to really do anything with Ahsoka this entire season. Because that was the big... This time last year at Star Wars Celebration, the big talk was, when are we going to see Ahsoka again? And they milked it for everything it was worth. They were just like, maybe you'll see him.
It was ambiguous.
It was hilarious.
Crazy.
Now in retrospect, it's great because I distinctly remember there were like so many panels of Rebels, different cast members, Filoni and everybody in between, all the story group guys. And everybody's just asking about that finale and how amazing it was. Now we're going to see Ahsoka again. We saw like a Force Ghost version of her, maybe. I don't know what that was. Could that be? And all these theories. And they indulged every little bit of it. And then there's not a peep about her, which is amazing, which is great because...
Very brave, that's true.
There's this whole other guy who you didn't think was relevant, or didn't think was relevant is wrong, but didn't think would ever enter the equation.
Yeah.
A little guy called Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
And then he shows up out of the blue.
That is the maddest scene ever. Oh my god. Okay, well, I want to lead up to that though, because that is one of the more like penultimate episodes in the season, which are following a few arcs, which I've kind of put down here. So some of the arcs are really good. Some of them are, so like I was just telling you before we started recording this episode, is that, if I wanted to kind of tell people about Rebels, like you said, there are lots of filler episodes, and the ones that we can find, if you trace those arcs, there's some really, really strong ones. And so we get a lot of backstory into some of the characters from the Rebels team this season. We get, Hera is kind of, so Cham Syndulla was, obviously there in Clone Wars, and he was a big deal back then. But Hera is an amazing character, right? For me, without a doubt, she's the leader of the whole Phoenix Squadron, and she's super cool. She's name dropped in Rogue One, so she's awesome for that. And we get to see a little bit about her history, and that whole thing which she has, the Twi'leks speak in this whole French dialect, and like Cham Syndulla and Hera both have this whole French accent, right? And she kind of switches back and forth between them, and whenever she speaks to her family, she speaks in this whole thing. So acting was on point, and obviously we get to see a little bit about her history. We get to see about Sabine's history and the Mandalorian kind of struggle right now. What's happening on Mandalore between her family and the people who have kind of.
Did you like that
arc?
That arc?
I thought the stuff with the Darksaber was... See, it's a little complicated. I thought it was a little too messy in terms of family drama. But I liked it. I liked that it kind of got into the whole Mandalorian. Because I think Mandalorians are cool.
Mandalorians are very cool. I think that I was mainly compelled by the fact that I was looking at essentially Boba Fett's civilization.
Exactly.
But I didn't really care about Sabine as much, which I thought was an interesting problem to have, because it was really cool that, this show, the beauty about this show, which a lot of, these mini-series within larger universes that these other TV shows have, this one, what it does right is it gives you this amazing insight into these minute aspects of this universe, right? And it goes deep, and that's great. So, I loved seeing, 50 Boba Fetts flying around and, shooting at TIE fighters. That was really cool.
That was cool, yeah.
But it's centered around Sabine, and Sabine has always been... I've had a love-hate relationship with Sabine.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you mean. In the first two seasons, we don't actually really know much about her. And in this, you kind of find out that, she's a little bit of... she's a bit of an outcast, obviously, because of the way her family... she used to be an Imperial officer, and because of that, she didn't realize that she was on the wrong side until it was too late. But I think what is really cool about this, we introduced, a few characters who I kind of really, really like Fen Rao, who's there in that. He's kind of this anti-hero until he, finally sides with Sabine. So again, I'm not completely invested in the family drama aspect of it, but I thought that one episode was a bit standout. The Trials of the Darksaber. Basically, the Darksaber is introduced in this season. And the Darksaber is basically made of kyber crystals, but it's like the anti-lightsaber, if essentially, even in the name, obviously, it suggests. And basically, it's a big Mandalorian heirloom, and whoever basically holds it has the symbol of uniting the entire Mandalorian thing. So I thought that episode where Kanan kind of attempts to kind of teach her. That was great. That was a great episode. Yeah, and I was I properly cried, I think, twice in this season, and that was one of those moments. I think the ending was quite tragic, and it was a little sad. And I think Kanan also. Kanan doesn't have much to do in this season as opposed to the last one, right? The last one, he becomes a Jedi, right?
Which again is fair, because now it sets up season 4. You can see maybe Ahsoka and Kanan doing badass things again.
Something, I don't know what's going to happen, but I thought that was a really good arc for Sabine. And I think going into the Mandalorian aspect of it, and the fact that she leaves the team, she's left the Ghost Crew now. I think that's quite a big deal. Because,
it was a big deal.
Yeah, so she's definitely now going to be sorting out her own life. I think that's cool. I think the one arc which is probably my favorite, and this guy is one of my favorite actors in the show generally, is the switch of sides for Agent Callus.
Fulcrum.
Yeah, for Fulcrum.
Fulcrum is great.
He's so good,
He's
right?
so cool.
The guy really has a
he's got a young darkness about him. I could see if you aged him quite a bit, he could, I think, fit those shoes pretty well. I would love to see him.
I would love to see a live action version of Callus. That would be so cool. But I feel he's destined for a tragic ending.
It's
gonna happen.
It's gotta happen.
But the fact that he's now he's part of the Ghost Crew, which is really interesting. Now he's going to be fully on this side. He's no longer a double agent. But I think his arc from, being in the first 2 seasons, he's like the primary like antagonist for all intents and purposes. In the second season, he has that one moment with Zeb.
And it
changes the entire game, which I thought was super, like, I didn't think that would spawn something, but like some form of empathy. But like the fact that he is Fulcrum, and like they don't do it like so clearly, like they don't say whether he is or not, like exactly, is he actually working for them? And you never know ultimately.
That's the great thing again about the show, man. Like it's not, I kind of appreciate that it's not that consistent, which is a very weird thing to say, I know. But even though it's 22 episodes, it is littered with these tiny moments that are just one scene in an episode. And when it's a 22-minute episode, that scene lasts like, 4 or 5 minutes if you're lucky?
Yeah.
And those 4 or 5 minutes, they always just come out of the blue. It always seems like, holy crap, I really care right now. Why do I care this much?
Yeah.
I did not give a damn at the start of this episode, and I did not care about the last episode at all.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm crying.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah,
which is a very
true.
unique experience. It's like that doesn't happen.
It's a weird thing,
normally there's build-ups and there's momentum and things like this. Show does not have momentum. This show is it's very haywire. Like it's so sporadic.
I think the last 6 episodes though kind of really kind of push it forward.
They
like
did.
I
they
think,
definitely did.
Yeah, but before that, we have like lots of stray episodes, like the Iron Squadron, which is these 3 annoying kids who basically think they're like
that was just what.
See, they've had plenty of like. I know whenever Hondo is in an episode, I'm just gonna know it's gonna be a silly episode. It's not gonna be meaningful at all. But at the same time, every time like the Bendu is there, or every time like we see, I mean, even Wedge is introduced in this season, and it's pretty like interesting that they've got a bunch of new characters. We'll take a small break and we'll talk about the main one, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn and his entire arc in this season.
Finding the right drink at the right place could be a big challenge. Exploring a new destination to its fullest could be a daunting task. So tune in every fortnight and listen to the Drinks and Destinations podcast with Rajita and Samira.
We bring you news, views and stories from the world of wine, beer, spirits and travel. Find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Audioboom or any other podcast app you choose.
And we're back. We're talking about Star Wars Rebels Season 3. And let's talk about the big bad in this season, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn. So Thrawn is a big character from the expanded universe, by Timothy Zahn.
I don't know a damn thing about him.
Yeah, so he's huge. I mean, again, I've not read
these. All I know.
I haven't read these books.
All I know is that he was beloved. It made big waves when the trailer dropped for the season, and I was like, oh,
and good casting also.
He looks cool.
Lars
blue
Mikkelsen,
eyes, blue face, red eyes.
Yeah,
cool. All right.
Yeah, which is essentially what he's described in the books as well. So Lars Mikkelsen playing, Grand Admiral Thrawn, great voice acting. Here was my opinion on it. I think he started out really strong, and I think what they were doing in the entire season was like the previous season. Like in the first season we had the Inquisitor, right? Like the main Inquisitor, which was again Jason Isaacs, who was Malfoy's dad, Lucius Malfoy, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he was that. So and second season we had a bunch of people. We had Sarah Michelle Gellar, but mostly we had Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And like you could not top the ending of season 2, so you had to retire Vader. Who else can you bring in? So they had to get in Thrawn.
Yeah.
And Lars Mikkelsen does a good job for the most of the season. I think what they did differently in this season was that they tried to portray that bit of, calculating vibe, right? Like he lets them go sometimes, sometimes he says, oh, we're going to leave them this time, but it's taught me something about them. Getting the things like the Calicori, which is like that, the heirloom of Hera's. Yeah. Just, it meant a lot, and it was cool that he was doing all these things. I don't think the final 2 episodes, the double episode, which is 0 Hour, while that seems like his ultimate thing, and he wins in a huge way. He wins. The Empire wins this season, right? They've destroyed Athlon. It's done. He almost kills a Bendu. I always thought that was pretty insane. But yeah, he has a big victory. But I felt like it was not big enough. Like there were not enough consequences, like the second season at the ending. And I know this is a problem, right? When you blind your main character and when you have this insane finale between Ahsoka and Vader, you can't. I don't know how they can top that. And they did it like with the Obi-Wan Maul thing, which we'll get to. But like the victory was not as satisfying.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though, right? Thrawn for me has been the most consistent player in this entire season. Every time he's been on screen, he grabs your attention. There's something about it that's
his voice, man. His acting is
amazing.
Good. Yeah.
Now, I think I sympathize completely with how those final 3 episodes played out, because everybody that I've spoken to that's seen the finale, everybody agrees that obviously Twin Suns with Kenobi and Maul was hands down the best episode by a mile and a half. 0 out. That was therefore it was a bit of a letdown. It was definitely a good episode, but a huge letdown compared to what just happened prior to that. Right now, the thing is, what I like about it, why I'm still a big fan of how it's going and the track that they're on, is that the nature of Thrawn's character is such that he's always, like you said, he's played the waiting game, he's let them go, he wants to strategize, he doesn't want to do it in one big boom, much like that was the downfall of his plan when like his subordinate, who was captaining...
General Price.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the other one. The other
guy.
dude.
What's his name? Whatever his name was.
Yeah, whatever his name was.
The guy with the mustache.
Yeah. Who basically Commander Sato sacrifices his life. Oh, my God. That hit me like so random.
Yeah, like you didn't know you cared for that guy that much, did you? Yeah. So what I like about it is that, 0 Hour was a bit of a letdown comparatively, but I think it does make sense that... Thrawn shouldn't be a one-season guy.
He should definitely not. Yeah.
If he is going to be this evil, conniving mastermind, then
even longer game.
Yeah, exactly. Like you should never be able to see what his end game is, and his end game shouldn't be boots on the ground, guns blazing. Like that's like that. Everybody that tries that against a Jedi loses.
Yeah, this is
that
true.
never works.
Yeah.
When have you ever seen that work? You've seen droid armies do that. What do you think? One Thrawn and like 5 stormtroopers going to kill 2 Jedi?
Yeah,
no,
that's true.
So I think when I saw him do that, when he said, "I'm going to storm the gates and go down," I was like,
the ground assault. Yeah,
I was like, that's stupid.
Yeah,
you are way smarter than that.
Yeah,
and so like you said, I too was very surprised that Bendu was defeated so easily. I was like, you can just shoot Bendu?
Yeah, you can't. But then obviously,
exactly.
He disappears. Yeah.
So I'm glad that.
But we kind of know
closure wasn't given there.
They've given some insight into the next scene. Like the Bendu says that I see your downfall and I see you being what was it?
Covered with arms. Embrace in a cold embrace. Or
something
like that,
really awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Biblical references for the win. Go for it.
Loved it.
So in that vein, I am actually quite happy with how 0 Hour played out, because I think you can complain that it wasn't as good as Twin Suns, but
I'm glad Twin Suns wasn't the last episode.
Yes, exactly. Because I distinctly remember when we did the episode for season 2, and we were just gushing over the finale. I remember one of my biggest takeaways was that when I was watching it, I didn't realize that it was the finale.
Yeah, this is true.
And so it just blindsided me that much more, because that's the thing of like, it's a finale. Oh, you better friggin' do it. You have a lot of So I think that's also kind of unfair.
Yeah.
Because if you are creating this giant storyline and you know what the end game is, and we're only like season 3 of X number of seasons, it doesn't necessarily have to be every last episode has to be this big boom. It just has to be a good point to pause.
I agree.
You don't have to see giant explosions. You just have to like say, I'm going to pause right now and keep you on the hook for the next 6 months. Is that okay?
That's what I want. Like, I'm looking for like, not, when I say consequences, obviously I don't want like somebody lose an arm or like something like that, but like something big to happen that changes the game, like changes the... I mean, otherwise, why are we watching a season, right? Like, we're watching an arc to kind of unfold and see the end game of something, and then something has to change irrevocably. So I think in this, what it means is that, I mean, for me, there's a couple of changes. Obviously, Sato is gone now. Sabine is no longer part of the Ghost Crew. And the main thing is that now Athlon is destroyed and they're now on Yavin.
Athlon's destroyed, they're on Yavin.
That's the cool thing.
Bendu is
up
God
and
knows
up,
where.
Yeah,
so there's plenty that's going on right now. And we've like, okay, can we just hurry up and talk about Kenobi?
All right, okay, let's do it.
Get that out of the way.
So why? Because I wanted to focus on the third arc, the main other arc. So now, I mean, we all know Ezra's not our favoriteest character, but I think we like Ezra because of what he represents, which is this whole conflicted Jedi thing, and it's because of who he is, because of he's this little annoying guy. Yeah. He unlocks so many different storylines, right? And the main one, obviously, is this whole light and dark thing, the difference of the holocrons, and that kind of leading him to what I thought the ending of that story was in Twin Sons, right? The entire ending of the arcs, because Maul has been kind of baiting him into being his apprentice more than once this season, where he's kind of tempted him to kind of follow his like calling, I guess, and because of that,
just give into the anger, basically.
It's gotten everybody in trouble. Sabine, Kanan, everyone is like basically been hurt from this whole Ezra just following this guy.
Ezra is literally Dunstan. And everybody around him is the hotel. Everybody around him is just watching this monkey and be like, why? Where are you going? Oh crap! Case. Now look at these other things that are happening.
Yeah, that's
his sole purpose. Like, I've never cared for Ezra, but you have to watch him because
you have to.
Bad stuff follows him and the bad stuff is fun.
Yeah,
that's
bad stuff is
it.
great.
He's just a medium for
the other
crap
thing.
To happen.
But I think the other thing is that he's become a really formidable Jedi. Like,
sure,
the closeness in him and Anakin is like it's obviously it's there.
Definitely
it's very,
there.
Very
he's
powerful,
to see. But I think the reason that we've never cared for him too much is because the guy himself is just I just find him boring. But the only thing is he's somehow a powerful Jedi and getting more powerful by the day, and he gets up to no good like all the damn time.
And I think the real interesting character in this is Kanan. I mean, apart from Freddie Prinze Jr. just doing an awesome job in just he's going all Neo in this character,
totally
right? He's the warrior monk.
He's going full Neo.
Yeah, so it's great, and I love that that he also. I mean, there was this one moment in Zero Hour, right? Like in the first episode of Zero Hour, and he's just like, I feel like there's not much I can teach you, and he's like, no, but of course he's like, well, my own training was incomplete. And it's just like there's this pause, and it's just like, well, I mean, shit, that sucks. Cool. Yeah, so he is a Jedi. I mean, he was inducted in the last season. We see that, but it's great. Like. Yeah. We all love Kanan. Kanan is amazing. So basically, in the mid-season finale, we see the whole thing where they finally come to a compromise. They said, "Okay, cool. I will tell you what I see from the Jedi holocron if you tell me what you see from the Sith one." And what they both come to the conclusion is Kenobi. The name Obi-Wan Kenobi comes up, and they said, "Okay, cool. We have to find Obi-Wan Kenobi, but they're disbanded and blah blah blah." Yeah. Twin Sons. That episode finally has Maul. In Tatooine. It's the first time I've seen Tatooine on the show, and it's the first time we get to see he's just absolutely he's old and he's wounded and blah blah blah, and he's already super tired from being in the desert, and just that whole episode is exquisite. Like, it's exquisitely animated. It's just so beautifully rendered. And Maul tricks Kanan into coming to lead Obi-Wan out of the hiding. So
tricks Ezra.
Tricks Ezra to come out of hiding. And apparently it was I sent you the Rebels.
Yeah, no, I saw that the minute I was done with the episode. I had to watch.
It's insane, right? Like, apparently they've gone through that episode the most number of rewrites. I'm not surprised.
You should.
Yeah,
you damn well should.
Such a tough one to do, and the moment I saw that in the trailer, I was like, this is happening. They're just changing the game every time. Man. And we finally get to see the whole Maul Obi-Wan confrontation. Now, the first thing that hit me was, by the way, the guy who plays Peter Cushing's thing, Stephen Stanton.
Jesus.
Holy wow. He plays Obi-Wan.
Just wow.
It was like listening to Alec Guinness, dude.
But no, it wasn't just Alec Guinness. It was both. Because in this, okay, so what we're talking about, guys, is that there's on the Star Wars YouTube channel, they have Rebels Recon, which is a great post-episode recap where they interview the creators and the voice actors and whatnot, and so you get a bit more of an insight, which is a great watch, especially for these better episodes.
Yeah.
And so talking to the voice actor for Obi-Wan, it was really interesting because he had to bridge the fact that this was still at least 20 or so years
earlier to
New Hope,
to
New Hope and what we know of Alec Guinness's voice, and about another maybe 10, 20-ish years after Ewan McGregor's voice. Yeah. So he had to get a marriage of Ewan McGregor.
And he's also got to do even James Arnold Taylor is there, who's voiced the younger Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
He's in the same episode.
Like in the hologram,
so
right?
It's like we had so many different versions of this happen. And it's the same guy who played Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. That's the craziest thing.
It was amazing.
And he does such a good job. I wish we could play some of it. It's so good.
The feels of just hearing the cadence of his voice, it was so just beautiful. Yeah. But so going off of this Rebels Recon episode, which you guys must check out, they explained the fight sequence, which was a very interesting thing for me.
Yeah,
just
what did you think? What did you think, right? It blew my mind, I gotta be honest. It blew my mind.
It was such a lesson in how to do a fight sequence,
so
man.
True,
I have never felt so pumped up by just 2 seconds.
Dude, it was it's a 3.5 second lightsaber duel, which is so intense. And you know what they're saying, right? Like, so the duel is over in 3 seconds. And when I was watching Rebels Recon, they were just like, how do we approach this fight sequence? And they were just like, you know, the fact that we kind of show the eyes is that they're already fighting, right? Like, they're already kind of measuring each other out. Man,
They've fought several times before.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's already won.
Yeah.
And the cherry on top, which I didn't notice the first time I saw it, the cherry on top, which Filoni mentioned, so when I watched it again, was great, is that Maul's move, they only have one move.
Exactly.
They only get time to do one move, right? Because you have one shot, and if you miss it, you're dead. And that's exactly what happens. He does the exact same move that killed Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon, oh my God, it blew my mind, dude.
It just...
It was too good. Shit, that was so good, man. Oh my gosh.
You can tell they spent hours just thinking about which... You get one shot, what are you going to take?
And like, you know, it just... And what I take away from that also is the fact that Obi-Wan is the greatest, right? Because Obi-Wan, like, I love that scene where... so Ezra's there and he's woken up and Maul appears and he's just so like calm and he's just like, well, it's like, I didn't really want to fight him, but I guess that's inevitable.
Yeah.
And then he just packs.
He just says like,
Ezra,
he's like, go to school, like, get on the bus, go north.
Mommy and Daddy will handle this.
It was hilarious.
It was just that, and I loved that. It was so insane that also like Obi-Wan didn't really give too much about Ezra. Like he's like, okay, cool, Ezra, you're this guy, I get it, you're cool.
Yeah.
Just okay, cool. I'll handle this, and you're out. And that's because I've got the chosen one to think about, you know. And like just that one moment, and he dispatches Maul in like literally 3 seconds.
I also realize I don't think Obi-Wan has ever really lost a fight. Because even when he dies, he chooses to.
He chooses to die.
He chooses to turn off the saber and go into the Force.
Yeah, into the Force.
Right? So he's essentially undefeated.
He's undefeated champion. He beat Anakin Skywalker. That's it.
Several times.
He
beat Anakin Skywalker throughout that entire third movie.
Exactly. So I mean, Obi-Wan is the best, dude. I just hope that Rey is related to him.
Yeah.
That would be insane. Then it would change the entire story from the Skywalker saga to the Skywalker and Kenobi saga, and that would be awesome. I would love to see that. Beautiful. But even, you know, and this kind of drives home the point even more that we really need to see an Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan movie. Like, it's a no-brainer. I hope they like announce something itself. Man, that would be the best. Like, I don't know why they haven't done it. Anyway, so that episode ends so beautifully because he kind of cradles Maul in his arms and he's just like, well, this is what is going to happen. Best line. He will avenge us. He will avenge us.
Which, well done, Disney.
Amazing.
Cross-platform, multi-platform. Was the voice of Luke's aunt? Was that that was the same?
I'm sure
they just picked it up. They
totally picked it up
because
it was too close to. I know that
again. That melody just. The melody in the voice was just like, what? No.
Yeah, and that moment, that ending,
oh my God,
was insane. It was insane. And like how they got the mannerisms of him down, like how he strokes his beard. They apparently looked at all his footage. Man, this show just like
what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
what a time to be alive.
Insane. It's and like for me, like that one episode was worth watching the whole season, all 3 seasons.
Completely.
So I think in that case, like they won. And Filoni is George Lucas Jr. Like he's the new George Lucas, and he knows exactly what people want and how. So I'm just really excited about what they're going to do.
But he doesn't. That's the best part. I think he could get to the point where the apprentice trumps the master, because the thing is, Lucas's flaw, right, with the prequels, and like I don't hate it exactly. Overindulgence and just giving the fans what they want without really thinking it through. Because we all know what we want, but we don't need everything we want, right?
Yeah.
Filoni has been great with this show about like just doing it just that much, giving you want to see this fight? I'm going to give you 2 seconds, and I'm going to make those 2 seconds count.
You know, there was that moment also. I was watching Rebel Recon for the last episode for 0 Hour, and he's just talking about it, and he's just like, you know, the more I do this show, the more I realize how a lot of things are coming to a conclusion. Like, you know, like everything that I started doing with Clone Wars, with George and stuff like that, and now with Rebels, it's all like coming to an end, you know, and just the fact that he's talking about it makes me feel also like, oh my God, this is so insane. It's so good. Shit. Man, he's the bomb.
So, I want to turn the page now just a little bit.
Yeah.
So we've been, top of the show we mentioned, you know, 22 episodes, that's a long time.
It is.
Right? And we've fallen out of favor with shows that we started on in the 22 episode format of things like Flash and Gotham and
Do you
whatnot.
think it's easier because it's like it's 22 minutes only, and it's also a cartoon. Ultimately, it's a cartoon. I mean, it's like can get pretty dark sometimes, but it's like, I mean, a lot of those filler episodes serve. I feel like it's a Disney XD requisite. Like, you know, it's an order. We need 22 episodes so that kids can watch like random stuff for the next like 4 months or whatever it is, right?
But wouldn't you say that that's synonymous throughout all 22 episode shows, like, ever?
Yeah, fair enough. But like I'm saying, some of the lighter moments which are just absolute filler ones, and we see those in Flash and all that stuff when we did watch Flash. But I think, I mean, like if this was a live action show, it would be 40 minutes long each episode, and it would be like 12 episodes. Like it would be like a Netflix show.
And would you like that more? Seeing where we're at, right? Like,
but you can't do some of the things that you want to do in live action. You can't have Obi-Wan, dude. Like, who's gonna play that? It'll never be the same. But when you change the medium, then you are allowed to dream.
So do you think?
It's a good question.
So the thing is, Star Wars doesn't have live action, but the comic guys, they have all the live action in the world. They have obviously they have animated stuff.
Yeah.
But without question, the focus is on the live action, right?
Oh, yeah. So talk about the movies.
I'm talking about no, not the movies. I'm talking about the TV shows. So the extension of the live action movies in terms of Star Wars and in terms of, say, DC and Marvel, right? Star Wars has taken them miniseries into an animated format so that they can do things like bring people back to life, and we won't question the ethics of it because it's animated. It's the character, right? Now, obviously, Marvel and DC have their animated series, and we've talked animated series and some solo flicks, which we've loved, and we've talked about that a bit. But without question, the main flagship of their miniseries are their TV shows, which are live action.
Yeah.
And now you have the Netflix ones, which are super dark and intense, which are great, some of them not so much. But do you think that they should now maybe try getting into this game of
the animated space?
Making that the thing, because
I think Marvel and DC have been doing it in the way that, like, Marvel has been doing it in the way that they have the animated shows, like they have Ultimate Spider-Man, and they've taken a few things from, like, Avengers Assemble was this show that came out as soon as Avengers launched. In fact, they had an Avengers show which they cancelled, and they started a new one just so that it could be in sync with the visual kind of tone of the movies. For example, Hawkeye was purple and blue in the previous one, and the new one, he was exactly like Jeremy Renner, which was the black and the scene like that. So I think they've tried to do that. Even in Ultimate Spider-Man, Spider-Man is being mentored by Iron Man. So this is a thought process that is kind of going through Marvel's head right now. So whatever's being reflected in the comic books or whatever's good, the idea which is good
to come back.
I was going to ask, do you think that, these characters are larger than life? And, I guess Star Wars was the first kind of universe that was being built, which is, which has a continuity that lasts like generations. Do you think we'd ever see, like, 50 years from now, animated Robert Downey Jr., like, in that sense that,
animated, like how
both ways. One
like how they
is
recreated Ben Kenobi?
Like Ben Kenobi, or have him like Moff Tarkin, which is like, recreated digitally.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Man, because those
be surprised.
But it's weird because like maybe the Star Wars of what our generation is the Avengers of...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which
without question it is. It totally is. It absolutely is.
So that would be strange, right? Because we see them very differently, these two franchises.
So think of it this way. So the Thor Ragnarok trailer just came out yesterday at the time of recording this, right? And so the big thing everybody's talking about, did you like it?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed
everybody's talking about it.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Now that I think of it, I have some beef with Naveen, our producer. So the trailer came out, right? And it came out earlier in the day. And I said to myself, oh, cool, I'll watch this later tonight when I have some time. So there were like several hours in between. And obviously everybody's like sharing it. And I just I skipped through like, see nothing. And so obviously when everybody shares it, and inevitably end up sharing different thumbnails of it. So I saw like 7 or 8 different images, and I was like, okay, cool. So now I know what the art looks like, whatever, that's fine. But then everybody was kind enough to just share the trailer. Naveen, our producer, decides to put the one punchline. There's only one punchline in this trailer.
Yeah, I saw somebody else who did that.
That was all he said.
Yeah,
so it was a great trailer. It was really fun. But the one gag... the one freaking gag is gone.
I'm telling you, you know what? I don't want to watch any more trailers of this movie now. Like,
I'm good.
Because
They gave away a
did
lot.
you watch the Spider-Man one?
I did.
Yeah, and that is the whole movie.
But now here's the thing. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic because I believe that these guys know what they're doing. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing, and that there is more to it.
Maybe it's a Sony thing.
He's seen how friggin' BVS went down with that kind of a nonsense.
But Sony is different, dude.
Sony is different. But this is in Marvel's hands.
Yeah,
it's a Sony property in Marvel's hands. If it's in Marvel's hands, I trust them.
In terms of movies I'm excited about for Marvel this year, it's Thor, GOTG, and then Spider-Man. And it's surprising because I thought I would be more excited for Spider-Man, but I'm more excited about Thor.
I was always going to be more excited about Thor because of the buddy copness of it. And so, okay, wait. So what I was getting at, to get back to what we were talking about, is that so this movie has taken a lot in their costume design and in the graphic work from the books, ripped it straight out and given you the exact same shape and whatnot. And it looks great. It's bright and vibrant and colorful. And so the biggest thing people are saying is that they are very, very similar. This movie feels so similar to Guardians, right? Because it's got the same kind of music. Yeah. Even the text graphic logo is got that same feel.
I was talking to Dinkar about this, and I was saying because it's now time to reconcile both the universes.
So to reconcile both universes is definitely one argument, but then now the other argument I think is that what's really working for Marvel is that at least the MCU I think is that they're doing a really good job of keeping it really true to the spirit of the comics and the life in it and whatnot, right?
Those crossover moments and things like that,
just in terms of the tone, you're watching a comic movie that is fun.
Yeah.
And the thing about comics is that much kind of how Rebels is working perfectly is that there will be these moments out of the blue that just surprise you and are genuinely heartfelt, and you'll end up weeping on page 57 of just a bunch of beautiful pictures. And it's what is this? This makes no sense, right? You should be crying over a novel, but you're actually just looking at a 2D dude
images
with horns on his head, and you're why is this so upsetting to me? And so Marvel have really got that down really well. And so the problem I think with the Fist and whatnot that's happened lately is that this gritty thing is not.
It's not all as.
It's not as gritty. It's not as gritty as I think a worry that they're taking.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
That they're pulling too much out of it.
Yeah.
They're forcing it to be more
you're
dark
than
it is.
It's more effective if you take something really light, or not light, but normal and chill, and how life is, which is that it's full of up and down. Yeah, but when the down happens, it's really hard hitting.
Yeah.
But when the light stuff is there, it's hilarious, it ought to be.
Right.
But most universes which are doing the dark stuff is that it is extremely dark, and then the emotional weight of it doesn't really come through because you've gone in only with one feeling.
Right. It's just nobody likes a one-dimensional character, right? So if you go to a party, you like the guy that can hang out with everybody, somebody that can move about and judge what needs to be done. But you don't want to talk to the one guy who's mopey all the goddamn time.
But then some movies have made that work so well. We just saw Logan, and Logan is dark, and it's really.
But that's with context. I am positive we would not feel the same way about that movie if that was the only Wolverine movie we'd ever seen. If that was the only Wolverine movie you'd ever seen...
But every movie is going to happen with... unless you're saying BVS started off that way, and that's what...
BVS started off that way, and now the thing is, Netflix, the Netflix series...
But what about Daredevil? Daredevil was great.
Yeah, but that was the first one. So we're okay, cool, that's neat. Jessica Jones was really cool because it was a totally different approach altogether. Yeah. And then Luke Cage and now Iron Fist just take themselves so seriously that it's we're getting too tired of this...
No, I agree.
This belabored just forcing the darkness in what is a very light character. The dude wears freaking green spandex and a leotard and what? It's
good point.
You should have fun with that. Yeah. And so Guardians has done, I think, the best job of marrying the two. Okay. And now Thor is trying to do the same thing of okay, guys.
No, but I think Guardians is out and out funny. Even the most the penultimate moment of Guardians of the Galaxy, he breaks into a dance.
Yeah, it's great. No,
which is great. I love that.
I trust probably nobody more than James Gunn.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, to do it right, I trust nobody more than him because he's got that balance down perfectly. So what I was getting at earlier with talking about the Star Wars and the animated stuff that they do.
Yeah.
So Rogue One was really cool, right?
Yeah.
But even the filmmaker himself has gone on record and said that I didn't think that I'd be allowed to do that ending because it was too dark. Now, they were excited at the notion of it because it's never happened before. Star Wars has never gone in that direction.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll try it. And it's worked great, right? But now... something tells me, while The Last Jedi is in red font and whatnot, and I'm really excited to see if this is the Empire,
they win this one.
Yeah, if it gives you the same feels as holy crap, the world is ending. I still feel like since Star Wars has Rebels and they're going so well down this, like, we will give you these nugget moments that are powerful as all hell, but for the like 90% of it, we will stay fun,
right?
family friendly.
I think so.
They will continue that way. I think,
but
Marvel should maybe take a page out of that and say, let's.
But having said that, though, and just to kind of maybe close, but like so if you watch Clone Wars, also it kind of starts off pretty kid friendly.
It does.
Okay, it's very like it's very young, it's very silly, blah blah blah. In fact, that first season is a bit of a trying one because it's like they didn't know what they were doing exactly, and when they finally found their feet, it starts to get dark. Like it gets really dark. Like I can remember one of my favorite episodes is like in I think season 3 or 4. And like, there's this moment where, Obi-Wan has, he's basically, there's this great arc of Obi-Wan being in love with somebody, but he had to let her go because he was in the Jedi Order and he's super, like he lives that austere lifestyle and he's never going to do that. So he finally kind of, his emotions are like in the fray. Like it's like somebody's pointing a gun between her and him. And his only option is to physically attack somebody who is just like basically holding a gun against this woman. And the bad guy is just like, the only way you're going to win this is that you let her go or you kill me or something like that. And Obi-Wan cannot make the decision that needs to be made. And suddenly a lightsaber pierces this guy and he's killed. And it's Anakin behind him. And he's just like, I had to do that job. Like that's what I had to do. And they play the Imperial March behind that. And it's like, it's mega dark. Like, and I was just like, whoa, I was not expecting that. But that's the kind of space the show starts to get into. They start to get into the psyche of the clone troopers, basically the troopers, and how that they've been brainwashed. And that's how Rex survives the entire thing. He physically removes the chip from his brain, which cannot execute Order 66. So it gets into that dark space. And I think the closer we get to the Rogue One event storyline, I think it's going to get darker and darker, right? Like that's probably what's going to happen. That's how Darth Vader is going to reach its pinnacle. So I don't mind it going in a darker space because the story ultimately is of rebels fighting an empire, and it's going to get. The darkest moment is ultimately Rogue One, right? Like the end of Rogue One is the darkest moment. But so I think leading up to that, it's going to get. I think we're going to lose a lot more characters. We're going to see a lot more people die.
We're definitely going to.
We don't know what's going to happen to Kanan and Ezra because there's no more Jedi when this show.
Absolutely.
When A New Hope begins.
But the thing is that I think the reason people always gravitate towards Star Wars, the same reason people gravitated towards comic books, is just like the space cowboy kind of a thing,
fun.
like just gunslinging,
soap opera.
It's just a giant space drama with hilarious absurdities within it. And
I think here's where I think the fun aspect is going to happen. I think it's going to be a no-brainer, but like when the Han Solo movie is coming out, they're going to integrate a lot of those. I think because they're roughly the same timeline. So they're going to have Han Solo in the show for sure.
Without question.
And I think this guy will voice him, whatever his name is.
Aaron
can't pronounce his name.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
So I think that's going to happen. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen. They're going to tie in those two events properly. And I think then that's when Rebels will close. Unless it goes on, like beyond, Rogue One, beyond A New Hope. Who knows what'll happen, man. And then I'm waiting for Dave Filoni's third show, which is between episodes 6 and episode 7. That's going to be the real cool one to watch. I will be super excited about that. All right. Okay, cool. So that's our show, but we're going to take a short break and come back and do a new segment for you guys.
New things. Yay.
Rants, crazy conversations, absurd questions, and everything in between. Cyrus Says is the podcast where I, Cyrus Brocha, let loose and talk to interesting people from across different walks of life. People who are available, actually, not more than that. Catch new episodes every Monday on iTunes, Audio Boom, or the all-new IVM Podcast app. Happy listening, but only for a few minutes.
Hello, you nerds. We have a new segment.
Oh, do tell.
With a new person.
Yes.
Who is a very old person to us.
Yes, actually, this is true. So, Alika is in the studio. Hi, Alika.
Oh, hi.
So, Alika is a person of many talents. So, she designs all our posts for when the podcast go out. So, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing that. But she's also now a podcaster herself. And you're on IVM Likes, which is another podcast, right?
Yes.
You guys talk about what you guys...
Stuff you like?
Yeah.
Recommendations.
Well named.
Recommendations. And that is essentially why you're here today. Because you're a board game nerd.
Yes.
How long have you been playing for?
About 3 or 4 years now.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So, and I want to say you're in deep, right? Like you're a hardcore board gamer.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have an anonymous club you go to?
the club is not anonymous, but
It has a name.
It has a name?
I'm in that WhatsApp group, yes.
Oh, you're right. That's right.
That
We
crazy
added you.
WhatsApp group with 150 people in it talking about board games.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's a nightmare.
Thanks for not telling me about that. I'm good.
It's
not
a
knowing.
suburban board gamers group.
It's
Jishnu.
only the
Take
suburban
it and go.
one.
Okay, so you have stuff for us today to talk about.
Yeah, you're gonna be
You have some wares to sell.
This segment is gonna have people
30
recommending
wares.
stuff. This week, Alika, you're gonna be recommending some board games, or just basically talking about some fun games that noobs like Jishnu and I can play.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'll talk about like one of the games which is pretty much my favorite game.
Okay.
It's a really easy game to get into as well. It's called Lords of Waterdeep.
Okay,
It's,
sounds like Lord of the Rings. Okay, go ahead.
It is kind of set in a Lord of the Rings fantasy
Like
setting.
Helm's Deep, because that's what I got from it.
Not Helm's Deep. So Waterdeep's like a big port city.
Okay.
And you are basically playing like one of the hidden rulers of the city. So
Hidden ruler.
So it's Game of Thrones at sea.
yeah, kind
I was
of.
gonna say
It's
Lake Town.
Waterworld, starring Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
I thought that movie was so bad.
So basically you play like a hidden ruler and you want to like there's a whole cadre of rulers, so you want to become like the most powerful one.
Okay.
So
There's a whole what of rulers?
like a cadre, like a mob gang thing.
I like that word. That's my word of the day. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Yes.
So the game's like there's a big board and the board has like different little places on it,
Okay.
which are like the tavern and the docks and things like that.
Okay, cool.
And you send your agents to go and like put your influence on those places, and you get resources and people from these places. And
Okay.
you use these resources and people to complete quests. So there's a deck of cards.
Oh, which are different quests
Yeah,
only.
which are
Sweet.
different quests. So you pick a quest and they'll be like, they have like really cool flavor, like defend the Tower of Luck, or tame owlbears, or start a griffin
Whoa.
cavalry.
So
That's
what is
cool.
the ultimate aim of the game? Is
Yeah.
to complete all the quests, or
No,
The
you-
most quests, I guess.
most quest wins?
Yeah, so the number of quests you complete gives you a number of points, and you just kind of like go around the board in terms of points. So
How does the game end?
the game?
what's
The game ends in like 8 turns.
Okay, in 8 rounds.
Yeah, so in 8 rounds, everybody gets a go.
Sweet.
So the most number of quests you can complete, the more number of points you
So
get.
how many people can play this at a time?
I think you can play like 5 at the
Okay.
base game, and then there are a bunch of expansions called like Scoundrels of Skullport.
Whoa.
Scoundrels.
No,
Scoundrels and
expansions
cadres.
means this
is a
game is
good-
already.
This is a good day for me.
Is super epic.
Oh wait, so
in my limited knowledge of board games, I know that board games can be divided into like first one is like either American games or Euro games. So
Right.
is this a Euro game?
This would be a more American
Okay,
game,
because you have to defeat your opponents.
Yeah.
Like
you are pretty much
devastatingly. Like you have to really just give it to them.
Yeah, there are ways where you can basically mess with your opponent
So
by
and,
giving
and
them
is this like
things.
not a tile placement game? Is
This
like
is a worker placement game.
worker placement.
So you
Okay,
get
cool.
your little meeples, which are those
Yeah.
little man sort of shape.
man people.
Yeah, so if you guys want to know a little more about
Tokens.
board gaming adventures, we have an episode which we did a while ago, which is
Also
called
somewhere, let's say the 30s.
30s, yeah, with Tabletop India, which Alika, you're a part of.
Yeah, I'm part of Tabletop India. We
So,
have
yeah.
a lot of games.
Yeah,
Come
so
play
we've
them with us.
done a lot of stuff with.
We've done a lot of stuff with them. We did an episode where we interviewed Vikas and Seto.
Yeah,
on
and then we
said
had Vikas
episode.
on a video also at Board Game Republic, which was the Fun Republic on Republic Day board gaming event.
Yeah.
So we interviewed Vikas, and Vikas is a close friend of ours. So, so this is a worker placement game, and it's and what is here's the other thing. This is I think like the most daunting question, like for most gamers, which is like how long does it take to finish?
You said 8 turns. Is it always going to be 8 turns? So you know exactly how long it's going to be?
It takes 8 turns, and it depends on how
many
quick
people
you are.
you have,
Yeah,
so-
and it depends on how
What's
quick you
your
are at
average?
picking up. But it takes about an hour.
That's
10
not-
minutes.
That's great. I like this.
We will play this game.
I like that.
You should.
We
Yeah.
will become lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I have never won in this stupid game, and it's still my favorite.
You should play me. You will win.
Yeah, this is true. I'm
yeah.
actually also equally terrible. Yes.
But
If you guys want to hear more about tabletop, you could go back and listen to that episode, like we said.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest takeaway was that we played like 6 games
We
the
did a
day
crash
before.
course, yeah.
We did a crash course. We played 6 games the day before. I made it through 4 and then said, I'm GTFOing the hell out of here.
Yeah, it was a bit of a brain drain because there was a strain though. There was a lot of.
I would not
intense
recommend
rules.
playing new board games back to back in like a 6-hour session. It's not good for your mental health.
All right, cool. So, what are you recommending on IVM Likes board games as well? Are you
No,
talking
I
about?
recommended a book. That
Okay,
day.
a book. Sweet. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So you can catch Alika on IVM Likes this week and some other weeks as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we will check out Lords of Waterdeep.
You can check it out on Tabletop India, so you can find us and
this
ping
is
us
true.
at Twitter on @Tabletop India.
Yeah, you guys have an event coming up as well.
Yes, we do. We have International Tabletop Day, which is happening all over the world. So we're taking part in it in Mumbai on the 29th of April.
Cool.
She's good.
Sweet. Nice. Good plug.
She's on it with these.
29th of April. Where is it happening?
YWCA Kolaba,
right.
and it's a full day event. So it's 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Are they going to separate it into all other board games and Catan? That's
Pretty
what
much,
they
right?
always do.
It always comes
That's
down to that.
Literally all
That's
the
because
time.
everyone knows about Catan, but nobody knows about the other one. So come there
Can
and
we play like a giant game of Scrabble where you just take like 9 boards and you put them around each other? And the aim of the game is to just make one word that can make a sentence. That is a good game of Scrabble. Can I patent that? You should just have a game of Scrabble where...
If you're spinning off another game, you can't patent this.
I mean, no, make the expansion pack for Scrabble.
Okay.
Sentence. And it's not just words, it's sentences.
Babble.
Babble.
There you go.
Ramble.
Ramble. Okay.
Anywho.
All right, that's our show.
us.
Jishnu, where can we find you on Twitter?
At the Jishnu Guha, without the. So just my name.
Jishnu Guha. Alika, are you on Twitter?
Yep, I'm
And-
there at Cape Fox Alex.
Not
What?
even going to question it.
Okay.
I'm at Tejas Menon. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Check out our previous Rebels episode and let us know what you thought about Rebels Season 3 or 2 or 1 or any of the Star Wars things that are probably happening right now, which is at Celebration.
You've probably just seen a whole lot of new Star Wars nonsense, so please tell us what's making you happy.
Where can they find us, Jishnu?
At thegeekfruit.in without the. You can press the contact button.
It's already hard enough to find us.
You can press that contact button and it will send a magical email. Or you could just email us directly at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. Also, no the there. And you can find us on social media at Geekfruit HQ.
HQ, yes, this is right. On Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, cool. That's our show, guys. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye, you nerds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.